Hi, everyone. This is Moni Singh, and welcome to the Teaching STEM podcast. Today, we're doing it a little bit differently. Actually, there is a video being recorded, and so I'm actually going to be showing some things as we as we talk about the matter today. So today, I wanted to show you our very first creation. So this is 10 years ago when I was beginning my STEM journey, right? So civil engineering is where I began, and it was amazing that me and my kids would actually look at almost everything, and we would think about things very critically as we were trying to create the curriculum and actually trying it and testing it out with the other kids. And the very first activity that me and my kids, and they were like 6 or 7 years old, and we were doing together was just to make a paper bridge with a piece of paper. And all they did was have like two cups, and I gave them a challenge that, okay, here is a single piece of paper, just a normal printer paper, and I said, okay, you have to find a way to put as many pencils on top of it, using just these materials. And they were trying, of course, the first time they did is just, you put the two cups and then you put the paper on top. And the moment we put our first pencil, the bridge just collapsed. So then I challenged them. I said, okay, why don't we try something different? Why don't you try a different design and things like that? So basically, after a lot of different kinds of folds and twists and turns to the paper, we finally came to design where now they could hold, I think, 15 to 20 different pencils, and the bridge was still holding strong. So that was just amazing. That's how this my journey with STEM almost began. When I saw this, their eyes were literally. They, there was a spark in their eyes, and that just was so amazing. I said, okay, that seems like there's a lot of interest, and the kids they're sponges at that point in time, where they're just taking everything and wanting to learn more. So that led to this our civil engineering. I wanted to just show you a couple of things in here, kind of going back in time. Literally, this is for me. And even though with any of the curriculum that we do, they keep evolving over time. So of course, this one is like a very old printout. So we have a newer version of it. But why am I, kind of have my book in my hand? It just feels good, right? I can flip the pages. It just kind of show you a little bit here. Um, but one of the things I talked about, I think, in the context of Stephen Covey, I mentioned, how he mentioned beginning with the end in mind. So what we do also is with any of these curriculum, beginning with the end in mind. Meaning, if you look at the very top thing, and it talks about, civil engineering, introduction to civil engineering. So showing to children what's the career connection that they can, that we see with this particular, program that they're going to be doing. And then we begin with that, right, introducing them to civil engineering and talking about what it all means, and so on and so forth, and what kind of creations that people, that the children can see, that are made by civil engineers. And that's where we had so much excitement. We talk about all the different buildings and bridges. And the moment you have this discussion, like we'll talk about, oh, the highest skyscraper, the Burj Khalifa, and then the one of the earliest creations, the pyramids. And children will get amazed about all that things, and then you start hearing their stories, right? Which is the, I think, the part that really kind of gets them going and thinking about what's around them. And then you start hearing stories like, oh yeah, I was driving, my mom was taking me somewhere, and we went to this little river, and I saw a bridge on top. Perfect. And then people will talk about how they went to a certain place and saw some buildings. I remember my own personal experience with this. We were around this time, I think it may have been a year after we wrote the civil engineering curriculum was done, and we were already offering it in the marketplace. So me and my kids, we were actually going to New York, and we were so thrilled. I mean, even me, I felt like I was a little child, because we had done so much about all these different buildings and structures, and we wanted to see each of those buildings in New York. So we'd make sure we stopped and looked, and one of the buildings that really created a lot of discussion for us, even like with my kids and also the kids that we were doing these programs with, was the Citigroup Center. And if you've seen it, you probably know it's a little bit of different design for a skyscraper, because typically you have skyscrapers, right? You have like a box kind of coming all the way down, and if you see pillars, the pillars will be always on the corner, right? So if that's the base, the full line, you'll see pillars kind of going down on the two ends, the corners. But with Citigroup Center, the way the building is structured, you actually see the pillar, which is not here, but it's actually in the center, like right there. And that's interesting. So this part is actually literally overhanging. And so there's a little story around that, because when the land was being acquired to make this building, and this tower actually is like 59 stories, and it's literally, there's an overhang, right? So the pillar actually goes in the middle right here. So the story is that there was a Peter's church over there, and the only condition under which they allowed the land to be acquired was that they were supposed to build another church right in that place. And so that's why they created the structure where there's a church underneath and the building overhangs and then goes on top from here. So it's very interesting, super cool. I think, when you think about doing anything with STEM with kids, keeping them involved and having them part of these kinds of exploration together really helps quite a bit. And what I'll do in some of the next podcasts, I'll share a little bit more tidbits about what's in here, because I think that will be really interesting as we go forward. And as you think about your own STEM journey, you think about maybe something that you're doing now, and you can translate that into a lesson, or make it alive for young children, and you might get some ideas and thoughts from that as well. So anyhow, we'll end this podcast right here. It was amazing. I know I enjoyed it quite a bit, and we'll talk again next time. Take care, everyone.